Hey, what's up? This is Fred, and welcome to The Shed. Today I'm answering your questions, and there were a lot of them. They were posted to YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. I took them all down, and I am going to answer as many of them as I possibly can today. Last week we hit 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we're well beyond that already. Thank you so much for your continued support, watching my videos, and leaving comments below. In celebration of that, I posted a video saying, "Ask me anything." You posted your questions, and I'm here to answer. Before we get started, I also wanted to mention the In the Shed with Fred mugs. They just came out for 2021. Another little celebratory thing. There's a link below if you're interested. So Lee West writes, "Hello from El Paso, Texas. We love you here." Thank you so much. I love El Paso. What's your favorite cereal? I love all the sweet cereals. I like Frosted Flakes and Apple Jacks and but my favorite I think is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Now I gotta tell you, I never eat these things. I eat them like a couple times a year, but God, they're so good. I love cereal. It's so good. Marmar383 Press Repeat asks, what do you feel is the most interesting song you've taken a part in? Probably on the Terrible Things record, we did a song called Conspiracy, and it is so interesting. We recorded the drums funny, like we recorded the cymbals separately from the drums. So Josh Epper, who's now in Coheed, he played all the drums with no cymbals and just like air drum the cymbals. And then he went back and played all the cymbals and just air drum the drums. Which took a lot of effort, I think. It was pretty rough. It was pretty hard, but dude's a pro. And then there's like some cool, like I think a baritone guitar going on in the verses, and it's just a really neat song. There's piano on it. So I think that is the most different thing I've done from any of my other songs that you would know of. Conspiracy on the Terrible Things record. So Rasp asks, Fred, how did you learn to scream like a total badass? Just wondering. Thank you, Rasp. So there is a story to this. When I was in Breaking Pangea, I really didn't scream much. I yelled. I had like a good yell, I would say. I like this singer called Dave Smalley, who's in the band Down by Law and Dag Nasty. I kind of have his sort of style of screaming. So I was in Breaking Pangea, but I was joining Taking Back Sunday, and I was learning their songs, and there was some yelling going on, and I wasn't used to it. So I go to practice, and I'm trying to do the parts, and Adam's like, everything, Adam Lazara, singer of Taking Back Sunday, he's like, everything's perfect, except I need you to scream more. And I'm like, yeah, I was trying to do that, but it hurts. Adam has a very convincing personality sometimes. He's like, Fred, I know it hurts. I know you don't want to do it. You just got to do it, and you just got to push through it and just do it. And then I'm like, so we kind of do it into the mic without any music. And I'm like, ah! And I'm like, ah. And he's like, I know it hurts. Just do it anyway. You'll get used to it. Trust me. Come on, Fred. You got to trust me on this. Just do it. So I just keep doing it, and it keeps hurting, and then eventually something kind of breaks, and I find my way because I had to. What choice did I have? I forced myself to do it, which is what he told me to do. Just push it and force yourself, and it worked. And the only thing is, when I was in Breaking Pangea, I had like a very smooth voice, and by the time I left TBS, I felt a bit like tore up back there. So I would imagine I have, some damage from that screaming. I think it's healed now. I think I can scream now kind of more safely than I used to, but now we're talking, I've been doing it for, 17 years. So just, there's no easy way is the answer. I wish I could tell you there was a secret, but it's like a no pain, no gain type of thing, sadly. So Drew Johnson asked, if you could go back in time to the Brody days and give yourself some advice, what would you say? That's a great question. Brody was the band I played in when I was in college before I was in Breaking Pangea. And I actually got some good advice back then from a guy who was a truck driver, and I told him I wanted to be a professional, musician, rock musician, and he said do one thing every day to achieve your goal. Like wake up and do one thing. And if you don't do something one day, do two things the next day. And so I kind of took that to heart, and I would wake up and go like, who could I email today that would make a difference, or what am I trying to work? Let me finish this song today, and just sort of make goals for yourself. That helps. That got me pretty far. It was making goals. I think the one thing that I would tell myself back then that I didn't know was that the way that I found success was completely different than the way I was looking for success. Like none of it happened the way that I thought it was going to happen. And I wish I knew that, because I turned down some opportunities because I just was so laser focused on like getting Breaking Pangea bigger and doing what I wanted to do and tour. And I probably could have gotten there a little quicker if I had like been open to more things, working with other musicians besides, the two guys in my band, and, maybe just a little more open. I think it would have led to more opportunities. Randall Williams asked, you often talk about bands and guitarists that influenced you when you were younger, but what about some more recent influences and inspiration? I think it'd be interesting to see you dive into some more recent artists that you dig. That's a great question. I always talk about the old guys, but there are some new people. I recently became a fan of Tiny Moving Parts, and I think Dylan's guitar playing is super interesting. Obviously doing the tapping thing, and I like his Instagram feed a lot. I also like that sort of falls in with like Chan. Chan's my son's favorite band. My son's a drummer, and so we listen to a lot of that in the house, and I think that stuff's just crazy that they can pull that stuff off. Like, it's beyond what I thought was possible when I was first learning guitar. So it's really cool. I like the band Baroness on their Purple album. I got really into that album. I don't have a lot of friends that listen to that, but man, I try to get everyone to listen to that Purple album. I just thought it was really interesting, and the way the songs were written. And I like the album before that by Baroness as well. And I also, I'll geek out on guitarists. I went to see that guy Andy McKee, who's kind of like a YouTube star, acoustic, and he does that song Drifting. I went to see him. It was so damn good, I have to admit. I'm a fan. Like, that dude can play some guitar. So Christian S. asked, did you have the opportunity to meet Chester Bennington on the Project Revolution tour? How was the experience with that tour with Linkin Park and MCR, My Chem? So the last tour I ever did with Take 'Em Back Sunday, it was Linkin Park Project Revolution with My Chemical Romance, him and our band. So I did get to meet Chester Bennington on that tour, and he was super friendly and very sweet person. Although he wasn't one to hang out much, so I can't say we've had much of a conversation. He's one of those quiet people that kind of kept to themselves. So a lot of the other guys in Linkin Park would hang quite a bit. They were ridiculously friendly, and Chester was friendly as well. But I just didn't get, he wasn't as he didn't put himself out there quite as much as some people do. So I do have one fun story about that Linkin Park tour. We were playing our set, Take 'Em Back Sunday, and I think we had a technical problem. Like, I think the kick drum pedal broke or something, and we were kind of like dead in the water. We couldn't play for a minute, and Adam kind of turned to me and said, Fred, give him what you got. And I played Michael Jackson's Human Nature, which I'm known to do acoustic. I've been playing that song since the early 90s. And and I played it. It was actually written by the guy in Toto, just so you know. So I played that song, and Mike Shinoda just happened to be walking around backstage and heard me play it and ran out. He just was a huge fan of my version of that song. But anyway, that was pretty early on in the tour. We went through the whole tour. It was long, like 2 months. And at the end of the tour, the very last night, we were playing our set, and Adam looked and saw that Mike Shinoda was watching our set. And after the song, he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Shinoda." And you know, they show him on the big screen, and the crowd goes crazy. And Mike holds up these papers. And I kept the papers because this was such a cool memory for me. So he holds this up. That's Mike Shinoda's handwriting there. And I'm like, "Me?" And he's like, and I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, man. I'll do whatever you want. It's cool. I'm down." And then he's like, you know, and he wrote, "Thanks, guys. You're amazing. MSLP." So I thought that was really amazing that he remembered that, and then he thought like, "Oh, today's the last day of tour. I'm gonna go down and see if Fred will play Human Nature." And it shows you what a cool person Mike Shinoda is. He's like a cool, really, what an awesome type of person he is. So I was a fan after that. That was just like above and beyond coolness, in my opinion. Okay, this question is from Jose Luis Martinez. He asks, "Have you ever been to Mexico? And if so, what did you like most about it?" I have been to Mexico. My father-in-law lived there for 5 years, and we would go down and visit him. He lived in Guanajuato, and he took us all around the country while we were there. We went to San Miguel de Allende, which is one of my favorite cities in the world. I actually have considered moving there, to be honest with you. I loved it. And we also went to a place called Paracho, which, if you know, is all guitar makers. You drive down this, I remember, like a dirt road. It may have been paved with buildings on both sides. There were old men in there just hand making all these guitars. And I bought a guitar while I was there. It's this here. And I love this guitar. I've played it on recordings of mine. And on Heading Back East, the first Color Fred song ever. So this guitar is awesome. I got this there. It has cool inlays here and here. So I love Mexico. I hope I can go back soon. And I've never actually played a show there, but I'd like to. And Jose also asked if I have a favorite book or author. And I do. Chuck Klosterman is one of my favorites. He's right here. Killing Yourself to Live is a book. It's a hilarious book. It's about death, but it's the last book I read that made me die laughing because he brings up the Eagles throwing D batteries at Santa Claus, which I thought was hilarious. He also has a book, Sex, Drugs, and Cocoa Puffs. And I also like this book here called Our Band Could Be Your Life by Michael Azerrad, which is a really nice, it's a history of early punk bands that I really liked. Fugazi, Dinosaur Jr., Husker Du. It's a nice little history that I enjoyed reading. All right, Baby Yoda asks, how do I record stuff with my band with no recording gear and not enough money to get a studio? Well, you got to start somewhere, right? So the first time I wanted to record, I just asked for an SM57 for Christmas. They're about $80. And then on my birthday, I asked for another one or some mic cables or a mic stand. And I just started really small. These days you can start on your freaking phone. You can get GarageBand. You're going to have to start with GarageBand. There was this singer back in the 90s called Elliott Smith. He was like an acoustic guy, but he would record a lot of his stuff on a 4-track cassette recorder. And he somehow made it work. I mean, you can use mic placement to change the EQ and just get clever with it, because you may not get $100,000 recording, like a major label size recording out of it, but just do it. Just start doing it. It might not sound the best the first time, but after months of doing it, years, and just working on it, it's going to get better and better. Jimmy Casino asked, did I grow up in a musical family? Does any of my parents play music for a career, and were they supportive? And did I write songs as a kid, or did I start writing when I was in bands? Also, do I think growing up in a small town like Coatesville affected my career positively or negatively? Those all kind of go together. So my mom is a musician, and she makes a living playing at churches, playing at weddings, funerals, and Sunday Mass. She's the church lady. And when I first played guitar, I would play with her at church. Both my parents were very encouraging about it, got me guitar lessons, got me a guitar. To be honest with you, on the writing, I came home from probably my second or third guitar lesson. I had learned 3 chords, A7, D7, and E7, and I wrote a song out of it. The next week I learned a G chord, and that became my chorus. So I actually started writing. I wrote a song before I played an instrument. It had like 10 verses. It was ridiculous. Being from Coatesville definitely affected it positively and negatively. Positively because there was nothing else to do, so I practiced guitar more than anyone you know. I guarantee it. There was nothing to do in the late 80s in Coatesville, so I just stayed in my room and played guitar at the edge of my bed day and night. That's all I wanted to do. So that was a positive thing. But negatively, I did have like a small town mentality, and I think I was a late bloomer because of that. I didn't get into Taking Back Sunday till I was almost 29 years old. I was touring by 25, but it just took me a while to figure out what I was doing and what I wanted to do. So that was probably my surroundings partially to blame. And also that maybe that's just how I am. I used to be like a fairly cautious person, so it could just be my personality. So Chicken Wing asked, what countries have I toured or just simply visited? And by the way, he's from Ecuador. I've been down to South America in the past year. I have some friends in Colombia that I visit. They're in Barranquilla. I've also been to Costa Rica for a few weeks, more of a vacation. And I mentioned Mexico. But touring wise, a lot of what I did was with Taking Back Sunday. We went to about a dozen different countries. I really loved Japan. We went to Australia, New Zealand, all over Europe, the UK. We went to Dublin, Italy. We went to Paris several times, Belgium. Terrible Things went to Australia, and The Color Fred did the UK, a lot of the UK, and I believe some of Germany. I do miss traveling, especially with the COVID times. This is like really giving me cabin fever. I just want to get out sometimes and see some of you guys and play some shows, but aren't we all in the same boat? So Evan Russell asks, are there any unreleased TBS songs from your era that we've yet to hear? Well, I thought there was. There was a song called Ron is Poor, which was an acronym for something. I wrote a song. I wrote this one, and a lot of the lyrics, it's kind of about the book or the movie Da Vinci Code. And I made the title an acronym, and I don't even remember what it was. But in the lyrics, it says decipher, decipher. I thought that was completely unreleased because I recorded that myself on a laptop, and I don't remember sending it to anyone, but it's on YouTube right now. So I don't know how this stuff gets out. But my guess is there aren't any unreleased TBS songs, because every time I think there are, someone finds a YouTube video of it. So that one is on YouTube, and it says unnamed demo. But just so you guys know, it's called Ron is Poor. So the question that had the most likes was from Kenneth Takanami, and he asked, this might be a bit of a personal question, but how are you surviving financially as an artist during the pandemic? Without the ability to tour, how have you been able to support yourself? Asking on behalf of many out-of-work musicians right now. And that got a lot of likes, so I wanted to address it. So with the pandemic, everything closed down. Obviously, that affected me very much. But so far, I've been able to pivot on that and do some really cool things. You know, there have been some things that have turned from a curse to a blessing. You know, everyone's gotten used to doing Zoom now. So I've actually been doing a lot of guitar lessons via Zoom. And I don't know if I would have gotten that many if so many people weren't using Zoom. We didn't really use it that much a year ago. Now every single person pretty much uses it. So that's opened up the market for me to teach more guitar lessons. I also do a lot of consulting for songwriting, like producing from far away. So that's been a good thing to come out of the quarantine. Also, these videos that I make are really fun, and I mostly do them just because I want to do them and I enjoy it. But it does get me out there more, and I assume a lot of you are stuck home and you're watching them out of boredom. So it's allowed me a new stage to get on and entertain, if you will. Another really popular question was from Jay Green. He asked, Fred, what's the deal with Follow the Format? Such a rad tune, but seemingly dead and buried before it's all the light of day. I've noticed so many people requesting it, but it always goes unmentioned. Spill the beans. So plenty of replies and likes on this one as well. So Follow the Format was the first song that I wrote for Taking Back Sunday. It was like the first or second week I was in the band. I was sleeping at Will Noon from Stray Light Run and Fun and Breaking Pangea. Will Noon's house. I was sleeping at his parents' house, actually. Stray Light Run was practicing in the basement, and I was getting up every day and going to Taking Back Sunday practice. So it was a crazy time. I remember I was sleeping on the couch in Will's parents, and John was walking through the living room with his guitars to go to practice, and then I got up and got dressed and went to Eddie's house to have Taking Back Sunday practice. It was weird. That said, John was always a gentleman to me and a really good guy. Anyway, at that time there was a lot of things being said, the whole brand new TBS thing that everyone talks about that I never quite get into. So I wanted to write a song because I felt that my friend Adam was being treated unfairly in the press. So I wrote that song, and we did craft some of it together. Mark came up with a really cool stick click beat, which was kind of one of his cool tricks at the time. If you heard This Photograph is Proof, it's that sort of beat. And so that song came out really cool. And I mentioned recently, but the lyric, "It's not a lie if you believe it," came from Seinfeld, from George Costanza. Jerry needed to lie to his girlfriend. I think he wanted to break up, and he had to lie, but he didn't want to get caught lying. He asked George, "What's your secret on lying? How do you lie?" And George said, "Jerry, it's not a lie if you believe it." And so, "It's not a lie if you believe it" was a lyric in that song. Basically what happened was we went to Mike Sapone and we made a bunch of demos for the first album, and we made Follow the Format, and I think it's one of the better ones that came out. But at the end of the day, I think we all felt that we actually didn't want more drama on our album. We didn't want one of our songs to create this fight to keep going and going. So we just decided that the lyrics were a little bit negative, and so we avoided the subject for that album. So thanks for watching my Ask Me Anything video. We may have to do a volume 2. There were so many darn questions. I want to mention that my band, The Color Fred, is coming out with new music later on this week, so check that out. And make sure you click subscribe to see all the cool content we have to go along with that. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.